gut reaction to fear of speaking is sometimes it's our inner critic. I don't know about you, but and I have almost like the cartoon, like the little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, where sometimes my inner critic sometimes is saying lovely things to me and making me feel really good and confident. And like I know exactly what I need to do and what I need to say in those moments. And then other times it's like a little gremlin or a devil who's, telling me, who am I to step into this room and have this conversation? Who am I to walk onto the stage? Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? And I think when we can really tame that inner critic and have positive thoughts and really engage with ourselves in a positive way, it's going to make a big difference and allow us to really, not only connect with our inner self and how we're showing up, but really give that confidence to the people that we're speaking to. Allow them to really trust who we are, hear our voice, and hear what our message is, and allow us to, attract the right people towards us and repel the people that aren't the right fit for us.
So what I do is when I get on the stage, even if it's a Zoom or anything, I just take like 3, 4 deep breaths and try to calm myself, my own self. And then I just, think that there is I'm talking to people I already know. So that's one of the things that I try to do, that I just don't think that these people are new faces or they're going to judge me. These are like my friends or, whoever is, I already know these people. And that's how I speak. And then the most of the time I've gotten the feedback that I speak from heart when I have that. I set that environment for my own self.
When we are so focused on what we want to get out of this, the stakes get very high for us personally. And like, oh my gosh, my boss is in the audience. And if that person really likes this, then I get a raise and I get a promotion. That's so much pressure. Mm-hmm. Or my colleague is going to see me and think this. Or I have to get this funding now. Like all of that is so much weight when we make it about our personal stakes. Mm-hmm. And when we can make it about what's at stake for the audience, mm-hmm. what do they have to gain from us? And we make it all about serving them. I think that's when it makes it easier for us to speak from our heart.
There are a lot of what I call physiological sensations that come up right before we go out and speak, whether it's on a virtual call or if it's in person. And one of my favorite things to do is to move my body. So if I'm in person and I'm at an engagement I'm going to speak at, it might sound a little bit silly, but I'll go into the bathroom into like a stall and I'll move my body. I'll do jumping jacks, or I'll jump up and down, or I'll shake my hands, or I'll do this one technique where I take my right hand and touch my left knee and my left hand and touch my right knee, just to move the sensations in our body. I don't know about you, but when I get nervous, those big giant butterflies can come in, and sometimes it'll feel really stagnant and it feels like it's not gonna move from that space. But if I move my body, it just kind of lets me come back into my body so I can show up and deliver the message that I need to be giving. I'll also do something called like EFT tapping, which is I will tap in locations on my body. Like I'll tap my forehead and then I'll say, I am worthy. I'm an amazing speaker. You've got this, girl. Like I'll tap different pressure points on my body and just say positive things to myself so that when I walk out of that bathroom and go out onto that stage, I have calmed all of the knots in my body and allowed myself to move through it. And another thing is just to breathe. Most of us breathe naturally on our own, those of us that are lucky enough to. And sometimes we forget to just breathe. Our breath is probably one of the most beautiful things that we have, that we can take control back of our body with. So just taking a second and breathing in for 4 seconds and holding our breath for 4 seconds and exhaling for 4 seconds and doing that 3 or 4 times right before I, turn on my camera virtually or I walk up on that stage gives me the ability just to take back control of my body and allows me to show up in a more confident and clear way.
People often say those first few minutes are the time that it's the worst. And I think that's when we can often are battling ourselves and our nervous system, where a mantra I love to share with people is, it's okay if I'm nervous. Accepting how I feel is better than fighting how I feel. Mm-hmm. And some people will look at that and say, no, that is not correct. And I say, okay, that's what your mind is saying and your ego. But really, I want you to see how your body responds to that statement. Really, does it spark some joy and relief? What would Marie Kondo say about this statement? And so It's okay if I'm nervous. Accepting how I feel is better than fighting how I feel. We're like, oh, I feel less charged. It's like, see? So I think releasing that pressure to be calm, like I have to be calm. Gosh, that's so much pressure. And we don't go to see Beyonce be calm. Another framing device I like to encourage people to use is thinking of themselves as the host of the experience. I will ask people like, who likes being the center of attention? And so many people in a workshop will like shrink back and be like, I do not like this. Do not ask me this. But I'll ask the same group, who here loves hosting and having people over? And so many more hands go up. And so I say, tell me about that. Like, oh, I want them to have a good time. And I can see they're getting bigger, their physicality, they're opening their heart, they're standing there. The party is not about them. They are there of service. And so I say, think of yourself, let that aspect of yourself do the presentation. Even if you're on someone else's turf, someone else's territory, you are now the host of this experience. And framing it of, they're not looking at you, they're looking to you. Even that small prepositional phrase can help us feel more like we're the big sister, or we're the mentor or the educator, rather than the victim on the firing squad wanting like our last chocolate cigarette, right? So even if it was independent, what was it, World Chocolate Day recently? So those are a few things I love to offer up to clients and myself, frankly, if I'm feeling a little tweaked, a little charged.
I think oftentimes we think like the audience wants us to fail, or they're waiting for us to mess up, or they're going to know I messed up. But if I can practice beforehand and really just embody the message that I want to share with the audience, I'm not looking for memorization. I actually highly recommend and tell my clients, like, don't memorize your speech, because as soon as you mess up a word or you get off topic, like, you're not going to know where to go next. But if you can know your talking points and embody your message and just show up and give a lot of value and a lot of love, like, your body's going to remember what you were practicing at home in front of the mirror or with the stuffed animals or in front of your kids, like I do. Like, your body's going to remember, and you're just going to show up and be more authentic. You're going to be more yourself. You're going to have more fun. There's way less pressure on yourself, and you're just going to make it valuable for the audience. What can they take from this? They're there for a reason. And if I can impact just one person's life when I get up and speak, like, that's all I can do. That's all I can ask of myself, is like, how can I improve somebody else's life and make one person's life a little bit easier?
Often people will think like, oh, what I've written down for this article or this blog post is going to work great on stage, but often what's on the page does not work for the stage. And so I want to always feel that I'm having a conversation with my audience. I'm perhaps talking more than so much more than they are, but wanting it to feel it's easy for me to say. Even if I've written some stuff out, it's all like, is this easy to say? And going through it. Also, another thing I like to do is, if I have a really big stage, where am I going to move and when? In acting, we call that blocking. And that can also help me remember what I'm going to say. Okay, I'm going to move to the right on this. I'm going to move to the left on that. And then when am I going to be still? My advice for people is, when you have that really key point, that's where stillness is so powerful. Those transitional movements can be when you're moving. So I try to take my own advice and do that as well.